Happy New Comic Book Day, geeks, and welcome to issue 72 of the Script Heroes podcast. I'm Katie.
And I'm Joseph, and today we're going to be talking to you guys about World's Finest issue 38, Nightwing issue 125, Titans issue 22, Teenage Ninja Turtles issue 8, and a new indie #1, Buried Long, Long Ago issue 1.
That's right, hit subscribe to add us to your pull list, and let's jump in to World's Finest. Batman, Superman, World's Finest, number 38. The writer here is Mark Waid of JLA, Flash, and Kingdom Come. The artist is Clayton Henry of Titans, Shazam, and Action Comics. The colorist is Tamra Bonvillian, and the letterer is Steve Wands. Now, this is the first in the Batman Superman's World's Finest and Justice League Unlimited crossover, which is why we're hopping into Batman Superman with issue 38. But if you want our thoughts on the series itself, we went over the first volume all the way back
ages
ago in one of our old episodes. So keep an eye out. We'll link that
I'll link
for
it.
you. Perfect.
Yeah.
But we're in the present now, which is ironic considering the theme of the book. Jay, how did you feel about Batman and Superman World's Finest?
Yeah, I want to start by saying that this is as I think a lot of first tie-in issues tend to, this is very little actually to do with the event. It's very much at the very end, it's event here, but the rest of the issue is kind of just an issue. Which brings me to, it's nice to read a Mark Waid book that isn't JLU for a change, because we've been very hard on JLU, and it was a very ambitious thing with all of those characters. So to get something that's much tighter by Mark Waid, very nice, a reminder of what he can do, even with an expanded cast, because this isn't a single character book. It's still very much an ensemble book, but not the JLU level cast, and we'll see how that goes when we reach the JLU issues of this crossover.
And that ensemble in this one not being, Batman and Superman, who are in this every week, but also Green Lantern and the Flash.
Yes. I will say mostly actually Hal Jordan rather than Green Lantern.
Rather than Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Which, as a Green Lantern boy, I was excited to ask you, how do you feel about the characterization of Hal Jordan not wearing his Green Lantern ring while he's flying?
I find that super in character for him.
I thought on first brush.
I find it an in character moment. I will say it's decidedly just false based on decades of Green Lantern comics where he absolutely wears the ring when he's flying. But I do actually really like that as a conceptual thing. I think that's really, really fun.
And I feel like this book can get away with stuff like that because World's Finest is set in the past of the DC universe. Yeah. So you can get away with he doesn't wear it. But I bet he's going to wear it now.
Yeah. But yeah, in any case, this is basically an issue about Gorilla City, which is actually one of those weird DC concepts that I really love. I've always really loved Gorilla City. I think it's a very, very fun little DC weird thing where it's we have a bunch of sentient apes, so they can have their own area, their own society. I love that. I think that's great. And I just thought that this was a really solid, again, the end does give the tie into the event, but I thought this was just a really cool, solid little issue about Gorilla City and Grodd, and Grodd's plan to take over Superman's body. That's a cool little Grodd plan. It feels like a Silver Age story, which for a throwback, Batman's, Superman World's Finest book works so well. And it's you get to read a Silver Age type of story, but with modern, pacing and writing and everything. So I love this. I thought this was really, really fun. It wasn't trying to be, I think, anything more than fun, but I thought it was very fun. And the character dynamics were also just phenomenal in this issue.
Yeah, which we've talked about with Mark Waid before. So much of his superpower as a writer at DC is his deep knowledge of all of these characters. Yes. And we saw from his run on JLA his ability to make characters with wildly different power sets and power levels work together in a way that feels like it makes sense. I think that he is one of the best people to write Batman on the Justice League because he doesn't try to lean into the Bat God side of it. He doesn't want Batman to go, pound for pound with Superman. It's Superman and the Flash will take care of this problem, and then they'll drop him off somewhere to deal with a Batman level problem.
Yeah.
And I think that that's generally a really big strength of Wade's writing of the Justice League. And
Agreed.
I think that this was another, like you're saying, a really well done team dynamic book. I do think it was a little dense. Not it wasn't dense in that it was long to read through, but they pack a lot in there. Like you get
Oh yeah.
some front matter, the inception of Grodd's plan, the execution of Grodd's plan, and the resolution of Grodd's plan, which I think in modern comics you don't get a lot. That's I think kind of
Yeah.
what you're hinting at with the
Yeah.
saying that it feels like a
Totally,
Silver Age
Jeff. Yeah.
story, like both in terms of like the scope of it and
Yeah.
in terms of
The plot.
the plot of it. Like
Yeah.
anytime the gorillas are here, it's going to be a little hokey. Uh,
Yeah. And
but yeah, I
especially
think it was
when you have gorillas and body swapping, like that's two of the Silver Age's like favorite
favorite
things.
things. Yeah.
I
But
do
yeah.
want to say, because you had hit on there with the Batman thing of like when we read World's Finest, my big complaint was the Batman Superman dynamic. I was like, I don't think that this works, especially for an early Batman Superman dynamic. They're just a little bit too similar and too getting along. I thought this issue was much better than that. Obviously, I'm missing the entire road in between, so I don't know how we got. But I felt like this was a much better classic Batman Superman dynamic, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that it also helps when you get to expand that cast out.
Yes.
Because it lets them. Because it's one of those things where, honestly, when Batman and Superman interact alone, it's often, I feel that Batman really respects Superman, and Superman just really respects Batman. And once you enter other variables into there, you get to see more of their personality showing, because I think a lot of Batman's personality comes out when he doesn't respect someone.
Yes.
So I think that adding more people around them does always help with that.
Agreed.
But if you're reading World's Finest, how do you feel about a crossover event happening? I don't know that there's been one with World's Finest before. I could be wrong on that.
I don't think
But
so.
if you're reading World's Finest, are you reading JLU? And the other way around, if you're reading JLU, are you jumping over to World's Finest to get this whole event? Let us know down below and how you think this Gorilla Grodd focused event is going to go.
Yeah, wild. But we have more DC to talk about. Do we want to head over to Nightwing?
There's never a time that I will say no to that question.
Nightwing 125. The writer of this series is Dan Waters of Detective Comics, Lucifer, and Homesick Pilots. The artist is Francesco Francavilla of The Joker, Nightwing, and Black Panther, and the letter is Wes Abbott. This is the start of both the next two books. We have fill-in artists for this week, so that's kind of something to hit on right at the top. But how did you feel about the latest issue of Nightwing, Katie? We've been quite enjoying Dan Waters and usually Dexter Soy's run, but obviously not on this issue.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Waters continues to impress me. I think that we've been seeing a really great, I was going to say pattern, but that's a little ironic, a really great pattern from him in these books that he's working on, where he's taking on these characters with a lot of history, with a lot of lore around them, and doing a really good job of making something feel like it fits their history and their lore, while also doing something really original. So like the concept of this, what is it, Detective Hollow, or Sergeant Hollow or something, the villain revealed for this next arc. I think that that is another type of thing that feels like a really good piece of Nightwing lore to, create. It's a really fun thing that I think Dan Waters is doing such a good job of not only looking at the character, but looking at where they are. Like, this is such a Bloodhaven type of thing. And back with Dark Patterns, he was really drawing a lot of, like, Gotham flavored things. And I think it's really, really cool that he's not only coming up with these things that feel like they fit so seamlessly, but also that he's able to execute them so well. Francesco from Cavella is doing a good job with the art. I do miss Dexter Soy's art. I think that his style specifically lended a lot of personality to Nightwing. And while I don't dislike Francavella's art, it's got a good style of its own. It's and I kind of get it's got a little more of a noir style
Yeah, it
that
felt like
kind of
they
makes
tried to lean
sense.
into a different style in this issue
Yeah,
for
oh,
that.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah,
Like they didn't pull another kind of like anime manga inspired artist. And with this issue being the start of this like kind of cop focused story, I think it makes sense to go with someone who has kind of like a pulpy noir style. I think it fits really well. I think the way that the villain looks in the shadows works really well. But I do miss Dexter Zoy's art because I think that it's just so rad.
yeah. No, I agree with that. It's a very like distinct stylistic departure, which is
Hmm.
always like a thing in the middle of a run. But I yeah, it seemed like that was somewhat intentional for this issue, or if they knew they had a fill-in artist, maybe they did then let this issue into that type of style for
Hmm.
that reason. What comes first, I don't know. Um, I thought it was a cool issue, and I agree that I think Captain Halla is a cool new conceptual character to
Yeah.
introduce. I like it a lot. I do think this issue like kind of struggled a little bit in like its place in the overarching plot, if that makes sense. Like I don't know that this like felt to me like a clear continuation and forward
Hmm.
momentum of what we've been doing. We've talked about how in an ongoing you have a little bit more space to do something like this, but it is sometimes still a little bit jarring,
Hmm.
especially when you get. I don't know if there's a fill-in artist or if there's a new artist for a new whatever, but like especially if
I
it
would
doesn't.
guess new artist, new arc. And then maybe
So
Dexter Soy is coming back. But I
yeah,
I don't know that.
if that's the case, then that's something else. But especially if it is a fill-in artist, then you do an issue that's super like the parts like you really start making it feel like a fill-in issue instead of like a part of the book. Um, but Dan Waters is great. And he understands Nightwing really well, and he has a really good like sense of Bloodhaven that he's building out. And so I think because of that, the book is always going to be solid to good, and then it's just like how well everything's coming together. Um, yeah, I enjoyed this, but I do think a little bit less so than the previous issues in the arc, or not in the arc
Yeah, I
in his
definitely
run, I
agree with
should say,
that.
because this
Just
is
yeah, new arc. I did just check. It looks like the next two issues are going to be this story arc, and then it goes
okay.
back to Dexter Soy with uh a
So
new
so there is a chance that that
a
will
new
feel
arc.
kind of like a
So it looks like it's
filler
a little
2 issue
filler arc.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Yes.
all how
Yeah.
you. Funny enough, that's
And
exactly what
I
Absolute
think that.
Woman was doing. Actually, a 2 issue little filler arc with a different artist.
Mhm.
But yeah. In any
I'm
case,
not mad about a two-issue fill-in arc. I think that it's I think that when it's the entire series, like with Erica Schultz's Wolverine, it's a little jarring. But I think that in an
yeah.
ongoing, in something with some longer, some more longevity to it, or when that's not, the default state of it, two issues I think is a really good kind of in between arcs. A little fill-in thing to change things up, to let you explore a different side of the character. I think it's really interesting that even though this is an issue of Nightwing, it wasn't Nightwing focused at all. We really follow closely on Maggie Sawyer. And I think that we're going to get a good development of her relationship to Nightwing in this duo of issues that I am hoping is going to carry us through this run as he continues to interact with the BPD.
Yeah. No. Very fair. Do we want to continue to talk about Nightwing, but not continue to talk about Nightwing?
We sure do. Let's go talk about Titans number 22. This comes to us from writer John Layman of In Hell We Fight, The Scorched, and Chew. The artist is Daniel Bayliss of Angel, Firefly, and Power Rangers, and the letter is, yet again, Wes Abbott. Jay, we love Titans.
Yeah,
We love this run.
we
John
do.
Layman's been doing
We've
a
been big
phenomenal
fans
job.
so far.
But
Yeah,
this is another fill-in artist, I believe, right?
it is. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But yeah, I think this is one where it didn't feel like a huge
Yep.
stylistic departure. This very much felt like it fit the book, and we weren't like slowing momentum for the villain artists to do anything different. But I guess that makes sense in a book that has been more like kind of issue based. Like, how do you do a fill-in issue in a book that's already kind of like very issue segmented and not very overarching? Though this issue kind of starts to delve into that overarching stuff, meaning Deathstroke and his team. We kind of get how Deathstroke is still alive. That's a big part of this issue. And surprise, Terra is here again. I know a lot of people are real mad about that. A lot of people are not happy that Terra's once again becoming involved in the Titans a storyline, which, like, fair play, but I do want to point out they are not just doing Judas Contract again. This
Yeah,
is
I was
not a
gonna say,
Terra
I think that
in the
that's a ridiculous thing to be mad about. Like, if
yeah
she was infiltrating the Titans again, sure, old
yeah
hat. But she's just fully here as a villain who has a really great
yeah.
dynamic with Deathstroke, and will have a really good emotional impact on the Titans. So I
The
think
funny
it's
thing is,
silly to
whenever
be
they do,
mad about her.
because John Layman laid out like such a them going back and forth about their history, I'm like, he's not gonna mention the
You
sexual
didn't.
predator
You
stuff,
didn't,
right?
which is
He's not gonna do
good.
that, right? And he didn't. But I was very
Thank God.
nervous as they were like going fully into their past in the back. I was like, please, please don't,
Please,
don't do
John.
it.
It was a different time, and we just pretend it doesn't exist now.
But I do think this is another very solid issue. I like getting this Deathstroke team being built up. I really like Deathstroke's characterization in
Yeah.
this. Like, he has, I don't really want to spoil because a lot of it comes at the back end, but like the way that he is using his team and like
Mhm.
placing things together, I am a huge fan of. I think it works really well for his characterization. And I just really love the team dynamic in this book. We've talked about it so many times. But everybody's doing things and everybody's interacting and having cool interactions, and I really like it. And I like this new robot chick whose name I will never remember because we weren't here when she was first
Oh yeah,
introduced.
it's like Valiant or something.
Valnadia.
Nadia.
But yeah, I like her too, and I'm actually enjoying the Roy Donna stuff. I'm sure that's gonna be another thing that some people will be maybe unsure about, but I think it's been like tastefully a small enough part of the book where
Yeah.
it's enjoyable and it's not like full soap opera. So yeah, I thought this was a very good issue.
I want to start off by saying I actually really like the Donna Roy stuff. I feel
There you
like
go.
it gives such a like refreshing feel to Titans. Like I feel like for so long, one, when there's romance in Titans, it's Beast Boy Raven and Starfire and Nightwing.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's like, okay,
I know
we
you would
know
have
what's
the
going
Beast
on.
Boy Raven one throughout a lot of
Yeah,
this
yeah.
book. Yeah,
So I like that, especially because Nightwing and Starfire don't have that going on, we have the like established relationship of Beast Boy and Raven, and we get to
yeah,
see little crumbs of that. But we get like something that feels fresh, something that feels like I don't know where this is
yeah.
gonna go. I don't know what these beats are. I don't know how I think these characters are gonna fit together, and I'm excited to see how they do. And I think that the way that Layman has done it has been such a good way to inject like a bit of lightheartedness, like low stakes, because they're
Yeah.
saving the world every other issue, or at least
Yeah,
saving New
yeah.
York.
As tends to
And
go in
yeah,
superhero books.
and so it's nice to have a kind of low stakes plot to invest in a low stakes way, where it's like I'm really emotionally invested in this in a way that I don't care if the guards of the transport vehicle have died. I'm like, whatever.
Oh, why are you shitting on the guard? Why are you okay with guards dying, Katie? That's not cool.
They're identityless. They mean nothing to me.
That they should mean something. That's so mean.
They don't. They're
Awful,
not even
awful
on the
person Katie
page.
is.
That's right.
Everybody, tell us in the comments how awful of a person Katie is. Get on
Please
this. Get on this
do.
train.
I need the ego boost. Uh, in any case, I think that it's a really good way to give this kind of B plot going on. Like it's really
Yeah,
crumbs of B plot with them, and I think that that works super well in something in something that's really episodic
yeah.
like this.
I agree with you.
It also speaks to what I think is like the biggest strength of this book, which you mentioned that everyone has something to do, everyone's interacting with each other. They all
Yeah,
feel like friends, and not in the
yeah.
way that it felt in Taylor's run, where it's like, oh, they all just get along. They feel like real friends, where it's like,
They felt like one entity in that book. Like
yeah,
they have one opinion and they have one thought process instead of
mhm,
like them being a group of people who, yes, are friends, but have different thoughts and, you
yeah.
know, wants.
And I just love how they all feel like friends in this book. Like you get everyone feels like it feels like John Layman has like a list and he's like checking off, making sure that he's routinely having characters interact with each other. And not
Yeah.
just like Beast Boy and Raven, but having these characters in this big, web of friendship, all feel like they have connections to each other individually as well
Yeah.
as with the group. And like, I do want to say, the action super cool. Love the
Oh yeah,
villain they face.
they did
The
a really great job in this issue.
mhm. The
Very, very,
characterization of Deathstroke phenomenal. Like you said, I love that he gets to be like a strategist here because I
yeah,
feel like he often is portrayed in such a way that like we don't get to know his plans. We just see the
yeah.
effects of them. And so being able to see him actually concoct them is really great. It's like everything with this book does work. But I just want to really focus in on what I think is giving this book such like a standout energy, which is the dynamic between all of the Titans.
I agree with you. It's been such a good run, and I think I've seen a lot of people writing this run off. I think because a lot of people fell off in the run prior, and then they've been seeing like covers and stuff, and they just see like a lot of classic Titans villains, and they're like, it's just gonna be stuff we've already seen. At least that's what I've seen online from people kind of engaging with it. Give it
Or
a
rather,
read.
not engaging with it.
Yeah, not engaging with like seeing
Yeah.
stuff with it and not actually reading it. Give it a read. It's doing some really really cool stuff, and weirdly, by doing the classic stuff, it feels kind of unique in the modern landscape.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Read Titans. Have you been reading Titans? What classic Titans characters do you want to come up? And how do you feel about the Donna and Roy dynamic? Do you want romance? Do you want romance between the two of them? Who would you pair them up with?
Oh no,
Let us
no,
know
no,
down
no!
below.
Do not invite the shipping commenters. We're
I'm
done.
inviting it. Shipping commenters. Let loose.
Oh crap. What's next? We got the turds, right? We got the Teenage Mutant
Yeah,
Ninja
it's time to
Turtles.
turn it up. Get turned.
Turtle time.
Heroes in a half shell.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Heroes in
issue
a half
8.
shell.
The writer of the series is, of course, Jason Aaron of Thor, The Avengers, and Wolverine. The artist is Juan Ferreira of Batman and Robin and Green Arrow. And the letterer is Sean Lee. This is the first Turtles book you've ever been reading as it comes out, Katie. So talk to us a little bit about issue 8.
Jason Aaron's been doing a great job. I feel so welcome into this this lovely sewer that we're all reading in. Partially because Jason Aaron is not treating this with any sort of like, I don't know, sponginess. He is making everything feel so grounded in the book. And I know that that's not a new thing for Turtles.
No.
But as someone whose primary exposure to it is like a, Saturday morning 4 kids cartoon, it, not 4 kids meaning like 4 kids like the channel. And like
Katie immediately throwing out the TV show of the Turtles that is perhaps the most grounded.
Sure, but it's like seeing it in little chunks of that versus Donnie emaciated and carrying around a dead rat.
Oh yeah,
very different vibe.
There's levels to things.
I was gonna say, my other exposure to the Turtles primarily was reading The Last Ronin with Jay, which is incredibly fucked up and wild in such a way that it feels like, oh, this is, obviously not this is not the main Turtles book. This is not like the most accessible of Turtles books. This is like a rated R Turtles book where Mikey tries to kill himself. To go from my perception of the Turtles of like turtles eating pizza and like kicking ninjas to Mikey killing himself in a sewer. I very much thought that when we started reading a Turtles mainline book, it was going to be a lot more on the eating pizza in the sewer side. And it's not, which is great. We have so much like gore in these books, like less so with the Turtles themselves, but we saw when we were looking at the cover for this one last month, that No Secret, Bebop, and Rocksteady, those are their names, right? Yes. They're in this issue, and without any spoilers around them, we see them like absolutely destroy some people in like a really violent way.
They're pretty fucked up in the IDW series. Like still goofy in the way they act, but terrifying in the sense that they're just like murdering fools as they do it.
We saw them murder Donnie when we were doing our iconic comic book deaths episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this book has really taken me off guard in a really, really, really
Yeah.
good way. Not only in the fact that it's not afraid to be violent, to be like fucked up, like fucking Donnie carrying around literally a dead and rotting rat, but
Everything
also
with Donnie is
in
just so unsettling in
like
this
the incredible
run.
depth of the characters. Like I feel like the turtles
Yeah.
are often used as a kind of like, oh, what turtle are you? Because they can be broken down into very easily understood, like kind of
Yeah.
basic forms. But this book is not leaning into that in the slightest. It's saying,
Yeah.
no, these are all complicated characters. These are all characters who have been through a lot of shit over the past 150 issues, and or 200, whatever it was, however long
Yeah.
the run before it was.
150 main line, I think close to, at this point, close to 300 if you count all the spin-offs and
There you
such.
go. And so it's done such a good job of saying, no, these are like well-rounded characters. They are literally teens, but they're not like goofy teens. Which I
Yeah.
do hope that we get to once we get through this first arc or two, where they're really coming together again after all of that. Like, I would like to see more like brotherly love with them, but I understand that that is not something that they have like earned yet. And
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that it's something that's on the horizon where we can see them being a bit goofier together.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. It's a very that if you give like a very run
I did do a
focus
very
review
every
there.
so often I
Yeah.
find myself doing that when I feel like an
Yeah.
issue
Yeah.
itself is just very
Yeah.
emblematic of the run. I
No,
love the
which I
caption
agree
work.
with. Yeah. Yeah.
They do
Yeah.
such a good job with
No,
both Leo and Donnie's characters in this.
want to call out probably not on the on the letter, but there is a an error in the
Oh,
one of the captions where the wrong turtle's name is used. I don't know if you noticed that. Leo's calling to Raph and Mikey, and he calls out Leo. I think it's either Leo and Mikey, or Leo and Raph, but he like the call out is Leo in one of them instead of their two names.
I did not realize
He
that.
goes when he goes into when he goes into Donnie's room. I'm not going to
Yeah,
spoil
yeah, yeah.
what it is, and he calls out his own name. So there you go. I noticed that.
What?
But other than that tiny little negligible mistake, this is a great issue, and they're doing a great job. I feel like the great thing is the interactions between the brothers. Like I feel like that's so much of what
Mhm.
is making this run so good, because it's so complex and so layered, and there's a lot going on with it. Um, you really do like have all these mixed feelings about these interactions between the turtles, because it's much harder to pick sides when there's all these like different layers of things going on. I think that's great. I think the overarching plot in this issue was solid. I felt like I'm getting like a little. I feel like I want some more answers on the Karai end
That's fair.
sooner rather than later, because it feels like we've been really stretching out the amount of time where it's like, well, Karai is kind of, and I feel like it feels rougher because it's across like two books essentially, because there's also the mutination stuff in them.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the play is that we're waiting for mutination to kind of like get us to a certain point, but obviously we kind of got the Karai thing in mutination. I don't know if there's going to be more with Karai and mutination. I'd assume there isn't. So at this point, let us know what's going on with Karai. How she's in there. I saw rumors that there's going to be a Shredder book coming out. I don't know if there's going to be a
Dan Waters is
Karai
writing it.
Shredder book, or if that's going to be a full why can't I think of Orokusaki? There we go. My brain died there for a second. An Orokusaki Shredder book. If it is an Orokusaki Shredder book, I'm guessing that the waiting for the reveal is so that we can learn that Orokusaki has returned as the main Shredder villain, which I'd be not a fan of because it really undoes a lot of the character arc progress, that he's had in this series, but obviously not going to get ahead of myself there. My point is, I want to know what's behind that door. I want to know why Karai and the Foot Clan are doing this when it's based on where we last saw them, kind of out of character. I feel like we need a little bit more on that, but I get that it's like the teasing bit. So that's my slight hesitation. Still, great issue. Series has been awesome so far. And it does have me very much excited for more to come, which I guess is the goal. But I'm just like, can we start getting at least a little bit of drip feed on kind of that overarching stuff? But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, good Turtles content.
Yeah. So this is Jason Aaron has become the third, only the third somehow in this long run, writer of main Turtles under IDW. We had the Tom Waltz run, the Sophie Campbell run, and the Jason Aaron run. All I think have very distinct tones to them, and they've all been very drastic tonal departures from the run before them. So I'm interested. Obviously, Jason Aaron's only done 8 issues compared to 50 and 100, so it's a little bit unfair. But tonally, which of those 3 tones do you enjoy best for the Turtles? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you haven't read all 3 runs, I don't know, read them. Not my problem.
Jeez, okay, I guess I'm gonna read 150 issues of Turtles.
They have nice
Or
collected editions with like everything in them. They make it so
I think
easy
I
on you to
literally
read.
have one of them nearby.
They make it
The first
so
one.
easy on you. Yeah.
But the thing is, if you don't want to read them, just keep a lookout because we may have something brewing to help
Yeah,
you get
that's true.
get your full Turtles at IDW fix.
That's right.
But we have one more book to talk about
One more.
before we depart. It's a new #1 from Mad Cave called Buried Long, Long Ago. Let's go talk about it.
Let's do it.
Buried Long, Long Ago, #1. This is coming to us from writer Anthony Cleveland of Stargazer, Charred Remains, and Show's End, and artist Alex Cormack of The Devil That Wears My Face, Sink, and I Play the Bad Guy. The letter is Justin Birch. Jay, new #1. I believe this is one that I threw onto our radar.
You did.
I
This
did.
one is one that you threw on there. I feel like I have to start in the most logical place to start about this. The credits page. What the fuck are you doing with that text on the credits page? Not great.
It's
not great. We need to see the credits very clearly.
We talked about this in our last Absolute Universe Breakdown episode, which be sure to check out. With the Thomas, or no, it was Batman and Robin.
Yeah,
it was the latest issue of Batman and Robin that had Thomas Wayne's journals and nigh unscrutable script doing it. It's like, come on, I want to know what's happening.
Yeah, but it feels rough to do on the credit. Like, you're making it harder for people to like easily tell that you worked on this book.
Yeah.
Because I had to go there because Justin Birch was not credited on League of Comic Geeks, so I had to find our letter. I thought also the colorist, but artist did both. Good job.
Nice.
But yeah. Anyway, just little joke.
The credits page. Anthony Cleveland also wrote Stargazer, which we also did an episode about. We did a full breakdown of that whole TPB.
Yeah. Yep. Also a Katie pick there. So Katie's leading us to this creative. But let's talk about the book here. Firstly, I loved this opening. I love this opening. It was such a cool, like, the character's reading a fairy tale, and so we get to see the fairy tale. I would kill for a whole book in that style. It was so cool. It was perfect fairy tale vibes. 10 out of 10. Loved it. Good hooking. Gets you in there. And in a book that I think they knew was going to have this very like slow build quality to it, where if you started on the first page with our actual characters, it was going to be a fairly boring first page to start on. So doing this to get you engaged, give you some cool stuff, and then lead you into the slow build. Very, very smart. Good understanding of the medium. Great job. To talk about this issue, I really liked it. Again, it's a slow build. Might not be for everybody. The amount of time you have to kind of sit with it before you start getting things. But it has this unsettling quality throughout, which I think is really, really great. And like the blending of like real world horror and fantasy horror was perfect in my opinion. Like, it just was such a good blend of like, oh, this is like a terrifying parent forcing their kid to like do certain things and act, and oh no, that, and I'm not going to spoil kind of where it goes, but like, oh no, that, and that's very real. And then the fantastical side of it and the supernatural, and that's terrifying. And those kind of like juggling between our main, what's the older sister's name? Jessie. Our main character Jessie, like kind of sitting in it with her. Like, I am terrified for her in every way. I'm very concerned about her, and she has to be concerned about her little sisters, which is so good. And the way that plays out at the end of the issue, phenomenal, amazing exchange. I also really like the way these kids are written. I often have issues with the way kids are written in books. I thought this was really, really good for all 3 of them. I love this. This was a phenomenal first issue, in my opinion.
Fully agree. I think that one of the really strong things about the way that the kids are written is that oftentimes the way that their personality is expressed is not through dialogue, but through personality and through action. And I think that's such a smart way to do kids. Because when they do the dialogue, like you're saying, it's not like annoying child dialogue, even though, especially with the youngest, they do lean into like a very childlike speech pattern. But I think it works really well, and I think it's because it's in such small doses. Um,
I think it's a good thing about having like the different age kids where they actually have to structure them as like being different. Where
yeah,
sometimes you get a kid the age of Jesse, or at least the age of the middle, kid acting like the youngest kid acts in this
yeah.
book, and they just be like, "Well, it's a kid. Kid's a kid." Like,
And
no,
it's like, no, kid's not a kid. Kids are different.
yeah,
Kids is people. You heard it here first.
kids
Um,
is people too. Katie says here.
that's right. But yeah, I think that this was so well done. I think you're absolutely bang on about that opening sequence. It also really immediately sets the tone for the mother character. They immediately frame her as an analog for this ogre, which
Yeah,
does such a good job of, because she has really great expressions and stuff, like the
yeah.
way that
Alex
Alex
Cormack,
Cormack,
fucking great. I mean, I think we talked
yeah,
about it when I don't know if we reviewed the first issue that was with my face on it, but whether we or not we did, I remember us talking about how great the art was in that.
yes,
We had some issues with some other thing, but the art was fantastic in that, and this is a similar kind of quality of like that real world classical horror look. Very
oh
good.
yeah, and I love the kind of watercolory coloring on it. It's
Yeah.
absolutely gorgeous. Um, but it's like if Jeff Lemire wasn't absolutely insane. Um, just a stray at Jeff Lemire. I love his art so much, and I love
We'll
it
talk about
because
your
it's
book next week, Jeff Lemire,
yes,
and Katie
yeah.
will talk you
Um,
up after
I
that
will.
comment.
But yeah, I think that the art does a really good job of conveying that. But it was really nice to have that framing of, because by setting the scene with a fairy tale, you're immediately put in a mindset of like good versus evil. And I think that
Yes.
in a book like this, where you have a character who, I feel like anytime you write a mother character, there is a lot of like opportunity for like sympathy, or especially because
Yeah.
like, oh, their dad is dead and she like went off to presumably find a better life for her kids. But the fact that they immediately were like, ogre eats people's bones,
Yeah.
bad, and they then frame her as that, even though she is, presumably, as far as we know, a normal person, it
Yeah.
still lets us immediately feel that like abject fear. There isn't like a sympathetic angle on her,
Yeah.
which I think at least at the beginning is really, really smart for setting the tone, especially with
Fully
what
agreed. It's
happens in
also
this issue.
interesting that like with opening with a fairy tale, they go into doing like a subversion of the typical fairy tale step parent, evil, normal parent, super kind.
Yeah,
With the version, like this is such a kind step parent father who's like, no, don't worry about saying anything wrong or
he's
doing anything
such a
wrong. Like I'm
goober.
so excited to have you guys here. I'm so happy about this. Like full inversion of the evil step parent that you usually see in fairy tales. So
Hmm.
um I think
Which
that's
is,
another cool thing about
shout out
setting
to
it
all
up
the
with that.
good step parents out
Yeah.
there.
Well, I think it like plays with your expectations because you
Yeah,
actually like you start with a fairy tale which puts you in the mindset of, oh, we're in this type of story, and then you see the mother like very concerningly telling them how to speak to the stepfather, and you're like, oh, we are getting that story where the mother's like doing this for like them to have a better life, but she's gonna have to protect them from the evil step parent. And it's like you roll up, and it's like, no, wait, that's not what's happening here. So
that's
it's
just a
a really
happy-go-lucky
cool
hillbilly.
subversion. I I love especially quick subversions like that where it's
Yeah.
like you get the expectation and it's subverted very quickly because it doesn't end up like derailing anything. It's just like a nice
Mhm.
fun play on your expectations.
Yeah, super, super, super well done. I also think they did a really good job of, in this first issue, balancing where they went with the supernatural. Like,
Yeah.
I think that it's something where they could have played their cards a little too soon, and they really held back. They showed a lot of restraint on it, that I think worked really well. And I honestly could have maybe even used more restraint. I understand that like the end stinger is like important for bringing people back and
Yeah.
immediately investing in this story, but it came a little out of left field for me, in that I feel like
I
I
think
could have
that's
used a
fair.
little more groundwork before it.
I still liked it, especially because
Oh yeah,
Alex Cormack did such a phenomenal job on that.
terrifying,
Right?
so
I
good,
don't want to spoil it, but oh my god, that looked good.
really, really great stuff, and
Fantastic.
it has made me
Yeah.
really excited for the series.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed. No, very
it
good first
suffers from
issue.
the fact that I was already bought in, so I was
Yeah,
willing to wait. But
fully
yeah,
agreed.
if you've read Buried Long Long Ago, how did you feel about it? Did you like it? Are you a fan of the type of book that like takes place in a semi real world situation? Because this is based on true events of someone who was like I'm gonna not say, because if you don't know, I don't want to spoil the issue for
Yeah,
you.
I'm always very happy when I don't read these blurbs.
Oh
You
yeah.
know.
But I remember from reading it that it is based on true events and in front of us now. But like
Yeah.
it was one
I
of the
don't
things
remember.
that
I think
intrigued
you
me.
mentioned it, and I went to read the blurb, but for some reason didn't, and just went, "Oh, we'll do it. That's fine." So
That's so fair. That's so fair. Yeah, and what is your pet peeve when people write children? What is like the worst thing that a child can do on the page to make you immediately hate that child? Because kids is people, but annoying kids is not. Uh,
heard it here first, folks. If kids be annoying, kids no longer people.
that's right.
Um,
Honestly, that goes for most people. Uh,
that's the end of our poll list reviews, which means up next is our poll list recommendation, where we each pick the book that we would most recommend you to pick up out
that's
of the books we
right.
reviewed this week. Are you ready to go, Katie? Do you have it locked and
No,
loaded? I've got mine
never.
locked and loaded, so
Okay,
I'll throw it
I
out
think
here,
I've got mine
especially as
too.
it continues what I was just talking about. Mine is Buried Long, Long Ago, issue 1. It's such a good first issue, and it's hard to find anything better to recommend than a really great first issue. This is just a fantastic new number 1, and I'm so excited for the rest of the series. Pick up Buried Long, Long Ago, issue
I agree
1.
with that wholeheartedly, but I am gonna spread the love a little bit. I'm actually
Spread
gonna
the
give
love.
mine to Titans number 22.
Very good issue.
It's kind of, I feel like it's a really accessible place to jump into this Titans run.
Absolutely. Honestly,
Uh
most of the issues in the Titans run have been very
they have
accessible.
been, yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like we might be moving away from that accessibility as we get into more of the
The
like
more overarching
actual
plot.
overarching plot that's happening.
Yeah.
So if you haven't already bought into Titans, buy in now. Get issue 22,
Totally.
and frankly, get the rest of it too.
It's
Uh,
so good.
but yeah, you heard it here. Buy Titans number 22, and definitely buy Buried Long, Long Ago number 1.
Yep. Both great
Yeah.
books, but we have a lot more great books to talk about next week. Katie, what are we pulling for next week?
That's right. It is Hush time again with Batman. Stop flaunting. I'm so
It's
mad. He
the
has this sick
issue.
ash
It's a
can.
visual
He's
aid.
rubbing it in my face. Batman number 159. We've also got JLU number 6, which is going to be the continued event that we
Yes.
tackled in Batman and Superman World's Finest earlier in this episode. We have Amazing Spider-Man number 2, Bug Wars number 3, Minor Arcana is coming back
Emily
in full
back.
force with number 6, and a brand new number 1 from one of Jay's favorite writers about two of Jay's favorite things, if you can't tell from what is behind him. It's Poker Boy. We're reading Arcana Royale number
Yes.
1.
Very
But if you
excited for that.
can't wait all the way until next Wednesday for more Script Heroes content, Jay, what else can they find on our channel
Yeah, on
right
this past
now?
Monday, which you could not tell from the title, our latest episode of the Strange Saturday Super Show went up. Sorry, I had a wedding this weekend, so it came up a little late. But our video on Bad Reception, an aftershock book
A
about
wedding themed Aftershock book.
yeah
I didn't
about
even think about
yeah
having you read a book about a serial killer at a wedding before you went to a wedding.
yeah wild how that worked out. But yeah, it's about a serial killer who kills people based on their follower count. So even more topical for today than it was when it came out. But yeah, we had a lot of fun with that book. You should definitely check that out. But if you want more things coming up soon, this Friday we're going to be breaking down the Superman special issue 1, which also came out this past Wednesday. We want to give that its own video because it's kind of broken down into 3 separate stories that are going to lead into the 3 Superman books moving forward. And we want to kind of give you guys a taste of our thoughts, which books we're going to be reading on the pod moving forward, and kind of giving you an idea of maybe what you're going to want to read moving forward, because 3 Superman books is a lot and you might not want to read all of them. But yeah, we got one more. We actually have 2 bonus episodes for you guys this weekend. Katie, what is the second one?
Yeah, on Sunday we'll be posting a tier list for you. Y'all love the tier list, so it's because you have opinions and you wanna fight us on ours, which is good.
Yes.
Great, we love it.
Absolutely.
We are going to be ranking every time Batman and Superman have gotten into like an altercation, like a fight.
Yes.
So we're gonna. I think we both are, despite being Batman fans, are both pretty solidly. Obviously, Superman can destroy Batman. Like I think we're both pretty solidly there, right?
No, not there at all.
Oh.
Yeah, no, because I mean, there's numerous reasons for that, but I've always been in the Batman wins camp for a very simple reason,
Uh-huh.
and it's very there. Because if you are writing for an audience of humans, humans want to see the human beat the alien. Thus, Batman wins. And also, like, you gotta base on what happens in continuity. Batman wins way more often than Superman wins in continuity. Therefore, you can't apply real world logic to something that, like, it's just not factually true based on what happens.
All right, I suppose we're gonna have a much more interesting episode than I anticipated. Here I thought Jay was a man with sense. Uh,
A little green rock beats Superman. Batman has a lot of little green rocks.
Let me tell you, a little green rock could also beat Batman if it was thrown by Superman.
Not when Batman has the little green rock, because then Superman can't throw a rock anymore.
All right, in any case, make sure you tune in for that, because I'm sure if mine and Jay's disagreements in the past are any indication, it's going to be pedantic and mostly stupid.
Oh yeah, and we just talked about one in Hush that so that one will be on there, as will many more, most likely.
Many more.
Yeah. There's a lot of them.
There are. We didn't even realize how many.
No,
so we're biting off a big morsel here. Yeah. But that is all we've got for you on this fine new comic book day.
But yeah, we will. I don't know why I just completely. I wanted a better transition. I don't have one.
You sidestepped my segue. The fuck is wrong with you? Anyway, we'll see you next week.
Comic Geeks.
Comic Geeks.